and welcome to today's webinar, Empower CDS Tips and Tricks. I'm very happy all of you taken this time to join. I know it's not easy to find time in our busy life, and I hope this webinar will be useful for every one of you, independently if you're new to Empower or already working with it every day. The goal of today's session is very practical, to show you useful functions in Empower that often remain underused in daily lab work. And feel free to lean back, listen, and take away whatever is helpful and useful for your own lab, for your own workflows. Make notes, and I'm sure you will definitely learn something interesting for you today. As I was selecting the topic for this webinar, so that is the first webinar by LabVision this year, I wanted to start with something not really complex. So I didn't thought like, let's go deeply in customer fields or let's go deeply in report methods. I wanted to start with something light. And my goal was to make it useful for a broad range of Empower users. So from beginners to experienced users, from routine analysts to power users and administrators. That's why today's tips cover different areas of Empower and different levels of complexity. You may already know some of them, but I'm confident there will be at least a few ideas you can take back and apply in your daily work. So we'll go through the following topics: administration settings, raw data review, integration, reporting and result presentation, and also results review. And before we start, I want to tell a couple of words about me. So about a person who is sitting and speaking to you today. My name is Inessa Peters, and I'm the founder of LabVision based in Switzerland. And with LabVision, I support analytical labs with Empower trainings, workshops, and consulting. I studied chemistry in Germany. Who is from Germany maybe knows University Siegen, so I studied there. And after graduating, I started my career directly in the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, I wanted, just after my master's, I went directly in the industry, and quality control was my first position. So I worked as an analyst, as a chemist in the quality control, first by Eurofins, then by Merck. And later I went to Sanofi and worked there as a QC manager. And on one wonderful day, I was contacted by Waters, and they invited me to a position, education specialist for Germany. And I was working there for 3 or 4 years, organizing Empower trainings and supporting customers across the German-speaking region. And approximately 1 year ago, my family moved to Switzerland, and I started my own company here, LabVision. So by now, LabVision is about 10 months old, and I have my own philosophy behind it. So I see Empower is a fundamental skill for every analyst. You all probably already noted, seen that Empower is widely used, and like it's almost every pharmaceutical company uses Empower. So it's a widely used software in analytical labs. And that's why I think it's really important to know it well, not only for your career or for your position now, but also for your career in future. And my goal is to help people use Empower with confidence and work more efficiently in their daily lab routines. And in my trainings, I focus on implementation. So I individualize trainings, I personalize them, I'm working with customer data to make trainings as efficient as possible. So every training is different, adjusted to the company's, to the lab's needs, to the lab's processes, to the lab's workflows. So that were a couple words about me. Now I want to ask you, so I will write my question in the chat, and maybe if you wish, you can answer it. So we see if you can use chat already. And my question to you is, which best describes you today? Are you a beginner with Empower? Are you already a routine user? Maybe you're an advanced user or admin, or maybe you're a manager of a team who works with Empower. I'd be happy to hear from you, from which areas of the lab you're coming from. A really good mixture, really a good mixture of, of routine, beginners, advanced. So I'm not going to count now to make statistics, but I'm here. There are really different people from different areas with different knowledge. Yeah, thank you for your answers. Great. So my idea of creating this webinar designed for different levels of users is, I think it was good. Great. So, and before we start with our tips, I want to mention some organizational things. So this webinar is being recorded and all of you will receive the link to the recording per email after this webinar. You will also get the full presentation also per email. So all slides I'm sharing with you, you will get it. Regarding questions, so in the webinar, your cameras and your microphones are ausgeschaltet, so are not on, so are off. So you cannot use them, but you can use the chat or you can use also the Q&A session, so as you wish. Yeah, I had experience with the Q&A part here, so in Teams, sometimes it works good, sometimes no. So feel free to use what you want. And I'm going to address your questions during the webinar and also in the Q&A session after the webinar. So I'll see, depending on the topic, how many questions come in. If they're directly relevant to speak about now, we will go through them. So feel free to post your questions and I'll address them during this webinar. You will also get certificates, if you want, of course. You will get certificates after this webinar, certificates of attendance that you were at this webinar. And to receive a certificate, I will send you an email with a survey. And by completing the survey, there are just a couple of questions. Your certificate will be created automatically and you get it sent to you by email. Yeah. So was good for me. I don't need to create certificate for each of you, but you can just take a short part so in the survey and you'll get a nice certificate with your own name. Good. I hope I covered all organizational moments. Maybe there are some questions you want to ask now directly, something that I didn't mention and you're interested in. So feel free to write in the chat. And I will continue. So our first area we want to talk about is administration. And if you're not an admin in Empower, it still can be relevant for you because some things you can address your administrators that they can set for you. You definitely all have seen this window. So when you log into Empower, you enter your username and your password, and normally you click OK. And then you come to Empower with a certain user type, which you can see in the top part of the window. So here you see I'm logged into Empower and my user type is analyst. And my interface, I'm using interface of Empower called Pro Interface. But sometimes it can happen you come with a user type that is not relevant or not relevant for the role you are doing now. Do you want to change your user type? Or other case, you come to Empower and you want to work with the Pro interface, but you're logged in with a Quick Start interface. In this case, you need to log out of Empower and log in again, but instead of clicking OK, you click Advanced. And then you see the following window where you can select from the user types you have and from the allowed user interfaces. So, for example, here I can pick from Quick Start interface and Pro interface. And we're coming now to the problem. The problem is that I often see that people need to do it every time they come in. That means that their default user type and user interface was set that in a way that doesn't work for them. So we want to have default user type be set to the user type we use for our 90% of work and our interface that we prefer. And you can ask administrator, or if you're administrator, you can set it in the configuration manager by users. In user properties, you can define for this exact user which user type is his default user type and which interface is his default interface. And then you don't need to click this advanced. Yeah? And also, if you're now looking from the admin item, from admin side, you can always think about when you're creating a new user, you can think, okay, what is this user doing mostly? Is it more like a routine user, or is it more like special tasks user and need a higher user type? What does he use more often? Which privileges are relevant for him in the most time he's working with Empower? And then you can set this default user type for him. Or better ask this user, what does he prefer? The same for user interface. So I'm working only with Pro interface. I don't know if anyone prefers Quick Start. Maybe there are some people, but what I've seen by one company is like had for all users, default user interface was set to Quick Start and nobody wanted to work with it. And all of them had to select every time manually pick up another user interface. What is just losing time. Okay, that was the first tip. I hope some of you have found it useful. If no, let's go first. Next thing that refers to administration area is default strings. So default strings are the comments that appear in different windows of Empower. So these are the default comments you can pick up from a certain list, and you can use these comments instead of typing your own comment every time. If you're working in a GMP environment, you definitely know that you must enter comments. Yes, it's just a rule. You always must enter comments. And often you enter the same comments. Every time you just enter the same comments. And to make your work more efficient, there is a possibility to set these comments, typical comments, that you, for your routine analysis, you just pick one that works for you and that's it. You don't need always think, okay, I need to think what I write here. And how to do it? You set these default strings. I'm too far, sorry. No, I'm here. So you go to Configuration Manager, View Default Strings, and then you have to select Category. There is a huge list of categories referring to different windows or to different actions in Empower. And I want to show you here some examples that I find the most useful among them. The first one, all methods. When you set default strings for the category all methods, you will see these comments every time you save a method. So every time you create new method, every time you adjust an existing method, every time you do some actions with a method and need to comment, you will see these default strings. So here's my example. I selected category all methods and I entered here 3 default strings: new, correction of a mistake, and adjustment. And then when I'm saving a method, it doesn't matter which one, instrument, processing, sample set method, report, or export, you will have this list of comments here under default comments. So they will appear here. And then you can pick up, for example, this one, correction of a mistake. It will appear in this window. And then what is great here, you can adjust this comment. So you can say, okay, correction of a mistake. And then why, what was the mistake? Why did you need to correct it? So these comments are adjustable. You just let the, default text you can pick from and adjust it if you need it. Another great default string is the category results. These comments appear when you process your sample sets or result sets, or when you save your results manually. So everything referring to creation of results. And in my case, I entered here 4 default comments: batch processing, that I use when I just process sample set and want to create result set; reprocessing to correct a sample set error. When I make an error, I need to reprocess my sample set to create a new sample set, a new result set. Then I will use this command. Reprocess it due to corrected method parameters, and the reprocessing after manual integration. Yep. And I will see these comments every time I process sample set or result set, and every time I save individual results. One more default string that has nothing to do with comments, but still refers to default strings, is location. You can enter here anything you want. In my example, I entered here just 3 cities: London, Bern, and Berlin. And then I will see these locations in different settings, different objects of a power. First, I will see it by new users. So here by user location, these locations will appear. Then it will make sense here to think, okay, what can be a location? What do I want to know by the user? For example, at which location of the company does the user work? Maybe France, Germany, or maybe certain cities. Or I can use it to put number of the lab 1, lab 2, or maybe R&D lab and QC lab. So I have extra field where I can set where does this user work. Also, location appears by nodes and systems. So here I can set also, okay, this UPLC system stays in the lab 1. And I will have here lab 1 I can pick up from. That is very helpful when you later look at your 50 systems and you had a great overview. Okay, this 10 systems are in lab 1, this 5 systems are in lab 2. So you can be creative here, what you using it for. And another example here, category result sign-off meanings. So here you can add sign-off reasons. You have separate categories for sign-off reasons 1 and sign-off reasons 2. So the people who use sign-offs definitely know when you want to sign your results, you need to write down reason. So why I'm signing these results. And you will see them, these reasons, you will see when you sign results in your report. And then these reasons will appear. Normally also very practical because you sign with the same reasons. Good. That was about default strings. If you have any comments here, you can write them in the chat. Tukaram, I see your question. So what is the difference in Quick Start and Pro? It's just how the windows organized in Empower. So in case of Pro interface, you always have new window for new project. For example, you open project for review, you have new window. You go to data acquisition, you have another window. So that is Pro interface, where you have multiple windows. And you can work simultaneously in two projects. You can have two projects, three projects, often simultaneously in different windows. In Quick Start, you have always one window. I can draw it for you, how the Quick Start works. So you have, sorry, it's not so, now it's good. So you have this rectangle, then you have like here your menu, and here you can go to projects, you can go to systems for data acquisition, you can go to methods, and you just click here, and then corresponding content appears in this window. Then you click here, the corresponding content appears. So when I was learning Empower, I also asked, why do we have this Quick Start? Why do we have Pro? And it was said that Quick Start is easier for beginners and Pro is more for advanced users. But in my trainings, I always teach Pro. I see it more flexible, and I don't really see like advantages of Quick Start. But if you have another opinion about it, yeah, it's just my personal opinion. So I don't like Quick Start, but both work great. There is also a walk-up interface. I don't know if anyone uses it. It's just like very, very limited one. You just can press inject, stop, inject, stop. You can just data acquire with walk-up, but I never used it also. But it's also always also available. But most of them, yeah, most of people work with the Pro interface. Yeah, thank you. So now we go to the next tip. Default audit trail setting. So first of all, what is it, audit trail setting? When you create a new project, you should decide by these 4 project objects, what kind of comments are you supposed to have when you do any changes? And if you need to confirm identity, meaning if you need to enter your name and your password by doing these changes. You have by comments 3 options. You have silent. That means that you don't get the field for the comment. You don't need to enter any comment. This is more non-GMP labs using it. And you have unrestricted and restricted. Restricted meaning that you allowed only to pick up from the default comments, from these default strings, which is normally nobody uses restricted. So the most flexible is unrestricted. Here you must enter the comment, and you can pick up from the comments in the list, or you can write down your own comment. And if you're working in non-GMP field, you can just put a dot there in the comment and skip it. So it saves, for example, your method directly, but you have like a dot or a number in the comment. So from my experience, most people use unrestricted. And the problem is that every time you create a project, you have to define this comment setting and define confirm identity setting. And sometimes like your default settings are not really what you want to have for the most projects, and you need to change it every time you create a new project. You need to change it, but you can set in the system policies, so configuration manager view system policies, in the tab new project, you can select here default settings. So every time you create new project, these default settings appear in the by audit trail window. And also, if you are working in GMP, recommended is that you click this thing, this setting, don't allow user to change default full audit trail support setting, meaning that all projects must be with this setting and it's not allowed to change them. And you see in my screenshot here, this is gray. That means I cannot change it. Yeah, so I don't need to worry about it. I just create a project and maybe I have no idea what this means. I could just can skip it and I don't have to worry what I'm selecting here. Yeah. So we are ready with administration part. If you have any questions, write them down. I just will go through the chat to see if we need to answer something. What are the important steps to master processing method in case of cigarette? Oh, it's such a bright question. Important step to. Okay, let's go through this question. Right. So when you want to learn how to create a processing method, first of all, I would recommend you to understand the difference between abstract and traditional algorithms. Yes, so you know which one to use. And if you know, okay, I'm using abstract or I'm using traditional only, you need to really understand well what do the parameters mean. So what is threshold, what is peak width, how I set them. So that is the first step. The second step would be to go through the component step to know how you put components into your processing method. And actually, these are the two tabs that are really important for creating processing methods, component step and integration tab. So if you understand them perfectly, you're like 90%, you can create your processing methods. And there are so many other tabs that are additional tabs, which is good to know, but it's not must. Yeah. One other tab that's widely used is suitability tab. Yeah, when you want to calculate signal to noise, it's also good when you go through it and know what each parameter means. I hope I could understand your question correctly and could give you a correct answer. Good. Let's go through to the next area, raw data review. Okay, Stefan, I will go to your question. Just to go back to policies, did you have this enabled in your example? Don't allow user to change default. Let me say. Yes, it's enabled by me. Yes, exactly. So when you enable this function here, calling that users are not allowed to change full audit trail settings, that means then when a new project is created, this is all deactivated. So you see what is set, but you don't see, don't have possibility to click here. You cannot change it. Exactly. Sahil, to your question, here in this case, if someone before has selected unrestricted while creating the project, will that affect me when I create new project? Like, do they change administrator level setting? So these two are different parts of Empower. This is system policies. It's like you really need super administrator access to go into it. Okay, if you maybe use non-GMP and you have all administrator priorities, you can set it. But if you select it here, yeah, and also select this one, and then you create a new project, you cannot select here anything else as these settings. But if you don't click this option, then you will have these as defaults. So you're creating a new project. It will be already picked up. So these settings will be already picked up here, but you will be able to change these settings. And maybe one additional comment here. After you've created a project, you will not be able to change these settings. So every time you create a new project, you should decide at the very beginning if it be with a full audit trail or without, and what type of comments setting you want to have, and what type of confirmed identity. I'm not wondering, I'm just uh, noting questions that I already answered, so I don't get to them later. Now we are going to the raw data review part. And here I want to show you some tips regarding how you review your data. Just you acquired a sample set. What are the next steps? Yes, some recommendations from my side, because I see it's often that people review their data with the not really efficient settings, and that makes their work slower and not so clear. So first of all, I always recommend that you review the whole sample set, not just channels, not just injections. So you did an analysis, you got your sample set. No matter how many different types of channels you have there, just take the whole sample set and go to review. Don't do like sample sets, view as channels, and just pick channels that you want. Yeah, in case I'm always talking from the GMP perspective, because that's my experience, GMP. So for me, it's like sample set, review. It's GMP, yes? And so how it looks like, you're in your project, you take sample set, review, and then you get this window. The difference between, so when you review channels, you don't have this part in this window. But when you have sample set review, you have this part where you see the complete structure of your sample set. So you see the name of your sample set, and then you see vials in the order how they were acquired. Yes. Then you see how many injections per vial have been made, and you see per each injection how many channels were acquired. In my case, I have only one channel here, 254 nanometers, but I could have also another wavelength. I could also have system pressure. I could also have spectra. So I have all this in one package in review. So I'm reviewing really all channels I acquired. Yeah, and that is very important, GMP. You need to review everything. And here it's like you have everything in one, and you can review them. Another tip here, when you're reviewing your chromatograms, always add legend. Of course, you see here, where are you now in this whole sample set. But it's much more easier to see your chromatogram when you have this legend below. So it's okay, that is chromatogram. It refers to my standard one, injection one, channel 254. How to add legend? You click in the chromatogram with the right mouse button, and then here you find properties of this chromatogram. Then you see this plot properties window with many nice settings. One of them is the legend tab. By default, your table here will be empty, and from the list here, you can pick up parameters that you want to show under the chromatogram. You just go to the area this parameter refers to. You just click here plus symbol, and then you have the list of parameters referring to sample set, then the list of parameters referring to sample, and so on. So I picked up here sample name, of course. Then injection makes sense if you have multiple injections per sample, and channel if you have multiple channels per injection. And don't forget to make a check here, display legend on screen. Strange setting, but it's there. And if you forget it, you don't see legend. And then you see your chromatogram with a legend undate. If you want to keep this chromatogram, don't forget to click Save Preferences. You have in your review window, I think it's under File, Save Preferences. Yeah, so you save the setting for next time you go to the review window. Another thing here, always often unseen, is layout. So when we click View, we have here two layouts, 2D layout and 3D layout. And what I often seen that 3D layout is used, although no 3D data was acquired. So, and when you have 3D layout, you see this contour plot, and people wondering, what is it contour plot? Why is it here? And you just maybe shift it up just to make it invisible. And you think, why is contour plot here? Even more space takes this part, spectra plot. And yeah, not really nice to have these windows if they're not relevant for you. So just select 2D layout and you will not see these windows. And click File, Save Preferences, so you can save them for the next time you come to the review window. Then there is also a great layout available apart from 2 and 3D layout. It's process and method layout. I would recommend it to use it when you need to adjust your process and method parameters. Since when you select process and method layout, you see not only your chromatogram, but you see also your process and method. So you can change here your parameters and then apply them to your chromatograms and see here the influence. And if you don't like it, if is not suitable, you can work here again. Of course, you can switch between your chromatogram and process and method, but this is just extra clicks, extra time, and it's not so obvious. It's more like I like it more when you have everything in one window. Of course, here is another tip directly. Use big monitors. Yes, it makes your life easier. Not like you're working with Empower on a small monitor or laptop. Then maybe I would recommend not to use process and method layout, but since your chromatogram will be like really small. Then method set options. In method set options, we can specify automatic opening of the corresponding process and method. What does it mean? So if you don't set these options, you open your sample set and you see your raw chromatograms. So you don't see, so any process and method is open. And in this case, you need to go open, process and method, and select the process and method you want to work with, or a method set you want to work with. But you can set method set options and pick this setting. Acquisition method set. For unprocessed data, always open the method set used to acquire the data. What does it mean? When I open my sample set, my channels, or my injections, doesn't matter what, Empower looks in the sample set under this column method set. It looks at it and sees which method set was taken to acquire this injection. And it will open this method set for this injection, and it will apply this method set to your chromatograms, to your channels. So you don't need to manually select process and methods you want to work with. You can just put them in your method set, and then Empower uploads it automatically every time you open your sample set, your injections, your channels. It works great for routine analysis. certainly. Yes, so you're performing a routine analysis and you always use the same process and method, then just put your process and method in the method set, do these settings, and then you don't need to select process method manually. You just open your sample set and voila, you have correct process and method. You see the integration. Yeah, very nice. And that is already was a question in the chat. Prakash asked it, so how to exclude pressure channel in this window if pressure channel is enabled? Yes, it's often the problem that we have really pressure channel there. And when you set in your method set that you don't want to have system pressure be integrated, which makes 100% sense, you will not see it. Yeah, and you can process your sample set without getting results for system pressure. How to do it? You go to your method set. Here should be definitely the instrument method you use to acquire these multiple channels. And then when you click here, so instead of selecting process and method here, you go to this table, you click here, and Empower reads which channels have been or are being taken with this instrument method. Which channels I set to be acquired in this instrument method. In my case, it was system pressure and 2 different wavelengths. So I see these channels here in the drop-down list, and I can pick up the certain channel, in this case 212 nanometer. I select process and method corresponding to this channel. Another channel I want to integrate with this process and method. And system pressure, I want to ignore. I don't need it. Yes, I don't need to think about integration of process and method. Then it will not be integrated. And then when you're seeing your sample set, let me show it here. For example, you have your sample set, you have here standard, and here you have 210 nanometer, nanometer, and system pressure. Then you will not, system pressure will be like in the background. You can still show it, but it will be like in the background. But this will be prior while, because you here set your processing method, and you will see chromatogram for 212. And you can switch to another chromatogram, 224. And they will be integrated with a corresponding processing method. And you see them all in one screen. Yeah. So you can change if you see this one, or you say, no, I want to see this one. You can switch between them, or you can also do overlays and you see them in one screen. And then when you process, your sample set and create a result set, you need to take this method set where you defined your channels. And then you have here, for example, 3 channels per injection, meaning that is my 212 nanometer, 224 nanometer, and system pressure. But here you will have 2 results per injection. You will have only 212 and 224. System pressure will not be processed. So let's go further. When you work with a sample set review and you want to go from one injection to another, you can use certainly this tree and just click here from one to another. But faster, it goes when you click these 2 buttons, next injection and previous injection. Yeah, just click, 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 and you go through all of your injections. And if you want to change between channels, 212 to 124, you click this next channel and previous channel. This two. So pay attention at the buttons you have. Some of them are really very useful. And another wonderful function here, apply method set. And that is only available when you review your sample sets. That's why I really like reviewing sample set, not single channels. It saves your time. Click and integrate and calibrate, quantitate. Probably all of you have thousand times click this integrate, calibrate, integrate, calibrate, integrate, calibrate, then integrate, quantitate. You know what I mean. So instead of clicking this integrate, calibrate, quantitate, you click apply method set and all your sample set integrated in one click. When does it make sense? You are working with your sample set, you're working with raw data. We are not talking about results now. We are just adjusting our processing method. So I'm looking which peak widths I want to use. I'm looking at which threshold I want to use, and I'm just changing parameters. I'm setting threshold, let's say 200, and I want to see how my chromatograms are integrated with this setting. And I have, let's say, 10 chromatograms, and I entered this threshold, and now I want to go through all of chromatograms. And some people click integrate, calibrate, see their chromatogram. Go next. Integrate, calibrate, see their chromatogram. But instead of that, you can just click apply method set, and all of them will be integrated at once. And you just go next injection, next injection, next injection, and looking at your chromatograms already integrated. Yeah. So we are not talking about results. It's just like when you're optimizing your process and method. Very useful button. Is it clear, this one? I think that's one of the most valuable tips here. if you have never seen it before. Right. So we are ready with the review. I go through the questions. Is it possible to copy preference from one user to another? No. As I know, no, but I will write it down for me and I will recheck it, Marcus. If I find out it's yes, I will write you separately an email that it's possible, Marcus. Copy preferences from user to user. As I know, no. Maybe someone knows the answer that says yes and how to do it. Possible. Okay. And is it when you create a project, when you can copy view filters, copy preferences? Is it this function? I think there were something copy preferences, but I don't know. Oh, no, it's not by project. Ashraf and Carsten, could you please answer this maybe in the comments so Marcus gets his answer directly? Yeah. Configuration manager view. The project. Okay. Okay. If we have time at the end, I can go in Empower and see if we can answer, if I can find it and show it. Carsten, regarding your question about 2D layout, what I recommend here, when you create your project, and if you know already that you will not use 3D data there, there is by options in the project, you can deactivate PDA. And then you will not have this 3D thing, but you still can measure single wavelengths. Okay. Now we go to the next part, integration. So it's when you are creating your processing methods, when you're optimizing your parameters. For example, you set your integration parameters. You have a wonderful chromatogram, all peaks are integrated as you want, and you need to have these peaks. In my case, how many? I have 8 peaks. You need to have these 8 peaks in your component step. Yes, you want to have them here in the table. These 8 peaks with names you want them to be named. What you can do, you can just type in here the retention time of the peak and name the peak. Instead, there is this great function, view from result. This is a button here, view from result. And when you click it, Empower takes the retention times of the integrated peaks of the chromatogram and copies them here. And then your processing method looks like this. You have here retention times of these peaks. Retention time window is set according to the setting here, 5%. And the thing that you need to do now is just rename your peaks. Yes, but you don't need to type in your retention times. That is this view from result function. When you want to go peak by peak in your chromatogram, there is another function called add edit component name. You click in your peak here, and then you see here add edit component name. And then you will see this window where the retention time of this peak is already entered, and you just need to enter the name, or you can change the existing name. And this setting will go through, that is a processing method setting. So you are updating your processing method with this setting. So that is when you want to go from one peak to another in your chromatogram and name each peak individually, going through, really detailed. Just do it with this add edit component name function. Another great function when you're working with peaks is called show components. That is here, placed here, this button. And when you click here, you will see lines representing the peaks, the components from your processing method. So it shows me the retention time set in the processing method for each peak. And also here, these little lines show retention time windows. And for example, I can draw it here. For example, you see peak here, lutein here, and you're thinking, hey, why it's unnamed? Why this peak isn't named like age? Then you click this button and you say, because my age is actually should elute here, but I'm sure that actually this is age. So then I want to correct my processing method, and I can shift this line here, so the peak will be integrated and so will be named as component H. But I'm adjusting the whole processing method. So it's very useful when you just want to, see where I'm expecting a peak and where peaks elute. Maybe all of them shifted a couple seconds, and then why they're not eluted, not recognized. Yeah, and you can move these vertical lines to adjust your processing method. And I suppose the last step in this section, clear integration function. Also see it that not everyone knows about it. So with this function, you can remove integration from your chromatogram. We're talking now also about sample set. It's not like disintegrating your results. No, just optical. So you maybe integrated your chromatogram, or maybe your integration looks busy and you want to look at your raw data without any red lines here, without any names. Then you click clear integration and you see chromatogram without integration. When you click integrate, your integration will appear again. Great. So we are finished with the integration part. Feel free to write questions and just go through. Thank you, Sarai, that you answered the question. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So let's go further to reports. So report methods is one of the most also most complicated topics, or mostly where people feel unconfident, especially routine users, because when you're doing same analysis every day, you're really not taking care of your report methods. You have report methods that exist already like since a couple years maybe, so you don't need to optimize them. That's it, yeah. And maybe you did once a course and learned how report methods you created, but then you forget everything because you just don't do it regularly. And I collected here a couple tips that I think can be useful, can really make your life simpler when you need just to adjust your report method. It's not about creating completely new report method, but when you just need to do some little changes. And maybe if you're creating report methods on daily basis, maybe there's also something that you've never used and maybe take in consideration next time you create a new method. So let's go through them. First one, outlines only. The outlines only function in report publisher hides the data, showing only the objects defined in the report method. This is especially useful for complex reports, allowing faster scrolling to locate and adjust the objects you need. You probably have already experienced that you're opening your report method and you usually pick up one result set and go to preview publisher and you open your report method. And in the report method itself, you already see data. And when the data is big and when the report method is complex, like you have many pages, and you want to scroll your report method to go to some table and make like very minor changes, you scroll, and it takes very long time to scroll to the point where you want to be because Empower is really slow. Then what you can do, you can click outlines only, and in this case, Empower doesn't show you the data behind it. So instead of seeing something like this, you will see this. You don't have any data behind your objects. You only will say, okay, here will be chromatogram with gradient shown. Here will be basic LCPIC table shown, and so on. You just scroll down, and yeah, actually it's nice to have some data behind to see how it looks like. Then you just deactivate this outlines only, but you're already in the place where you want to make changes. So try next time when you're just in your report method and it seems like it's very slow. Another thing here, snap to grid. So when you go to your method properties, you have the step snap to grid, and you can select here the fine grid. And when you look at your report method, only report method, you will see this fine grid. So you will see these dots here. And these dots help you to align objects. So the object will be not just somewhere in the page, it will be aligned to one of the dots. So when you make such things like here, like many fields, it's nice to have like nice alignment. And also you can use, instead of fine grid, you can use user-defined grid to make it more finer. Because, for example, I don't really use fine, I use more like user-defined, where I take, instead of 50 horizontal, 100 dots, and here by vertical, 2000 or 3000. So I have it even more, even finer. And you can also pick here another color, maybe something lighter than black, if you want, just some decoration. But you will not see these dots in the report itself. It's just like a help for you for positioning objects in the report method. Then you probably all have seen this, even in this report method. There is a huge list of all possible objects you want to add to your report method. And sometimes you're working there and you need to find some certain object, and then you go through every area, through every title here, and you click plus plus to open these sections. But you can use instead expand all function. So you click edit expand all, and then you see all these sections are opened, and you just go through and think what is relevant for you now. So for people who are learning to create report methods, I recommend you just take time and go through all of these objects and see what they exactly are. So what is it? What is it array? What is it chromatogram with gradient? How it looks like? And another tip here. So for example, by chromatograms, mostly all of them you can generate from auto-scaled chromatogram. The same refers to table. So mostly all tables can be generated from the OPIX table and so on. So it's good when you can look through them and understand what each object here shows you. And opposite situation, you're working with this list, you open several sections, and you have this huge list of all type of things, and you want to close them. Then you can use the collapse all function, and then you have this list, all sections closed. Continuing on this list with objects, there is also a find function available. So when you go to edit, you can click find, or you can click F3, and then you can type the parameter you are searching for. For example, I want to find while. I just type while, and then Empower brings me to the section, to the object here with the name while. It's not really well marked. So you see here by me, it's really light gray. I don't know if you, depending on the monitor, it can be that you even don't see that the while here is marked. But you already know, okay, somewhere here where Empower opens this list, I can find what I'm looking for. Another tip here regarding tables. You probably also have seen that when you have big tables with many columns, that Empower splits these tables automatically. So you don't need to worry that your data is outside of the page. Empower just splits the table and creates as many tables as needed to fit in your report. And for example, it can look like this. I have here sample name and then further different parameters of my sample. And when I'm looking at these columns and I want to see, okay, this line, which sample does it refer to? I will look to this number 10. Okay, that is line 10. I go here, there is line 10. Okay, that is standard 3. But what I can do, I can fix this column, sample name column, and it will appear in every further table. So when Empower splits my table, my fixed column will appear in every table. To repeat the first column in every table for better clarity and to easily see which row corresponds to which sample, set this column as fixed in the table properties. And here is a trick, because it's not like you can find it intuitively. I found it very late in my Empower life. I was really surprised that it was hidden so much. So first of all, I go to the table properties, and then here under the table tab, where I have my table, where I select columns I want to be shown, I go here again in the table properties. So it's like double dive. So table properties, and then again in the table properties. And there another window appears, and here I can fix the column. And in my case, I'm fixing sample name, and then it looks like this in the report. I have sample name in my first table, and I have sample name in the following tables. And if I fix sample type, then I will see both of them, sample name and sample type, in each table. That's it about repeating the columns. If you have any questions, we'll have time to write them down now. And we are going further to the data review part. So here's like what I want to show you here. So when you're reviewing your data, so double check. So we are talking about this part when you already acquired your data, you processed your data, you have your results set, you created your report, and now comes somebody else, another person from your lab, and does the check of your data. So data review. So what can be useful here? There is a possibility in Empower to view data from different projects simultaneously. But normally we are working within one project. So we collected data, we work data, always go browse projects, select projects we work with, and we are looking at this data. But sometimes, for example, you do stability studies, you need to go through different projects to see the trend, to work with your data among several different projects from this year, from previous year. And to do this, you can use the function called global projects view. It's used to compare data from different projects. To access different projects, you go to Configuration Manager, select at least two projects, and click Open. So that is how it looks. So I am in the Configuration Manager. I have here two projects. I mark them, and then I go Open. And then I see data from both of these projects in one window. Here it will say Global Projects. That's why it's called Global Projects View. I will see here in the list which projects are opened here. And then it looks similar as in your just project window, but you will have in every tab here additional column called project name. And here you can select channels, results you want to review. You can make overlays. You can do all of this. You can create reports too. What you cannot do here is you cannot process results. So you cannot create new results here, but you can review your data. One thing that can be tricky here, I need to draw you something here. So, for example, you have an hierarchy of projects. For example, you have project A, and in this project you have A1, A2 project. Then you have project B, you have B1, B2 project inside. Then when you want to compare these two projects, it won't be a problem. Or you want to compare these two projects, it won't be a problem. You just go in the project B in Configuration Manager, you pick up these two projects and go to review. But if you want to compare this one and this one, it will not be possible from the Configuration Manager, but still it's possible. What you should do, you select, your first step will be select two projects, for example, A1, A2. Yes, and you will have this window with A1 and A2 project. And then you click Projects Available button. And then a list of all projects will be shown to you. So you will see A, A1, A2, B, B1, B2. And here you can set, I want to add additionally this B1 project to be added into my list. So that's how you can pick up projects from different head projects, sub-projects, head projects. I show you how it looks like in Empower. So here, that is this button called Projects Available. When you click it, you see all projects available in your Empower. And here you can pick a project that you want to add to your view. And you click here, Activate. Or if you want to remove project from this view, you click Deactivate All. Yeah, I'm sure if you wrote it correctly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not head project, it's parent project. Sorry, I missed this name. Parent project. Yeah, you selected from another case, also very often that you have inside. So for example, here you have by A, you have 2 levels of projects, and by B, you maybe have 3 levels, B 2, 1, something like that. Then you can do it with this projects available button. Exactly. Here's a tip for your review is to use view filters. View filters is a really great tool in Empower to filter the data you want to see and also to see more information about your data, more than it's available that is seen by default in your project window. If you haven't used view filters before, my big recommendation to get into it to see how they work. And here I want to show you 2 view filters, which are very useful for reviewers. One of them is the method view filter. So it's always important to know which method ID and which method version were used for data acquisition, processing, and reporting. And the method name alone is not a guarantee that the same instrument method was used or the same processing method was used. And for better overview, create a view filter with the corresponding columns. So by default, I see only these 3 columns. So in every project I go, I see only these 3 columns. And here by filter by, you see that is this default view filter, default from Empower itself. And if I want to create if I want to see more columns here, then I can go to Edit View, and I will see this window with only these 3 columns that are available here. And then I can add further parameters that are interesting for me. So I have here a list of parameters that I can add to this view. So here I added method ID, method version, and method logged. And then it looks like this. So I have here another view filter. Review, it's a name which I gave to the view filter. And then, so I select it and I see already information Yeah, which ID does this method have and which version it has. Empower shows you always the latest version of the method. And when you, for example, acquire the data and your method has two versions, Empower takes always the last version, the second one. The same is regarding processing. When you use processing methods, Empower takes always the latest version of the method. But it can be that you acquired the data with one version and then somebody has changed this method and you already have another version. And when you, for example, want to see the parameters of this method, you don't see the parameters of the method which was used to acquire the data. You see the parameters of the method that was saved as last. So here is one example. You see I have here HPLC instrument method with a method version 2. And now I want to find out with which instrument method my sample set was acquired. So I mark my sample set, then I go to View As and click here Instrument Methods. And now I will see the version of the method that was used to acquire this data. So here's one. Okay. Here you can use these functions very useful when you do by sample sets, when you want to check which version of instrument method was taken. And when you also, it can be useful by result sets to see which processing methods have been used. But don't forget to set your view filter first and then do it with View As so you see the relevant for you information. So in general, data reviewers, yeah, so I recommend to use these two important, really important functions of Empower. View filters to give you an overview of your data that is relevant for you. So what you are checking by the data. For example, you can always see if the result was manually integrated or not, which comments were given there. Regarding the methods, you can check method versions. And yeah, so you use View As and View filters. And another view filter I want to show you here is this result review. Why? Because when you see your results in the project, you have so many different columns there that are not really informative or relevant for reviewers. And it's so you need other information, and it's great. You can create a view filter that gives you more information. So here I picked up the columns that I would recommend to check. And the most important of them is result number and number of results stored. So in GMP, we always want to see that we check in last results and that the last results have been reported. Yes, so last results are the most relevant. Of course, we need to check all of them. But how you find which result is last, in which order they've been taken, sure, you can check by date processed, but sometimes this field date process is a really long field. So instead, you can just pick up these two columns, result number and number of results stored, and you will say, okay, this result is the third of 5. First of all, I see, okay, to this channel, I have 5 results. Why? Yeah, my question will be why? What went so wrong there? And I can check by every result what is the difference between them. And I can also see, okay, which result was the last one. You can also add here, I forgot to add it here, sign off. If this result was already signed by an analyst, so I can see how many signatures was already given to this result. Also result, also result comments can give you an overview of what analyst has entered there. So just a little hint. I will not write really much on comments, but it's really real hint. Okay, why there is this extra result have been created, or just a regular result. I have only one of one result, so just a normal analysis. no mistakes, no reprocessing has taken place, or I can say, okay, this reprocessing was done because parameters in the processing method have been adjusted. This result has been reprocessed because calibration curve settings were on, and so on. But still, as data reviewer, you need to check, is it really true? You cannot rely just on text. Also, this column manual, it shows you if the manual integration has taken place. Also, a warning sign is if it's not really, yeah. Manual integration is always a warning sign. You always have to be able to explain why it took place. And it's good when data reviewer can show, okay, I know which results have been manually integrated. So here you will just see this check mark, which were manually integrated. Result codes also give you signs if something was wrong in this, not wrong, but some comments to your result, what was done there. Maybe someone deleted a peak, which is not good. Then you see this result code saying, okay, there was a peak deleted. Yes, I think we are ready now. So I take a look at the comments. Carson, is it possible to compare results from different projects in one report? I will say truly, I need to recheck it, but I suppose yes. I will check it. If it's no, I will write you, but I suppose yes. Then, if the projects are not under the same, okay, we already read it. And how do you see Empower being used for review by exception in the GMP environment? So with view filters, maybe you can clarify it, Stefan, like more details regarding your question. Okay. So in the Q&A part, I think I will just take a look. What is the difference in QuickSearch and Pro? We have already answered this question. Great. So what I want to ask you now, so just for a reflection, what was the most useful for you? So if you could write in a chat, so what was the most useful takeaway for you today? So what would you like to implement? Is it something like interesting for me, like what is really missing by users, but also something for you to think about all functions we were speaking about today and see, just to memorize, okay, what I can test today or tomorrow in my environment. So I want to show you a couple slides. So we have half an hour left. I hope you still have time to stay a couple minutes here, because I want to tell you about further trainings planned next month. So the one training I'm planning on 18th of February is lab analysis workflow training, which I really recommend everyone who's new to Empower, because this is a compact training. It takes only 2 hours. So it's like our webinar, but it's like really, really intensive, and it shows the essence of the whole analysis in Empower. And we start here from terminology and data structure in Empower. So going all through really parameters. So we go through, okay, what is instrument method? What is method set, explaining all these details. Then we'll see how to perform a routine analysis in Empower from instrument method to report. So you see all steps. How do I perform routine analysis? How I acquire data, how I process data, how I get result sets, how I get my report. So all this clear red line. So you have in your mind, okay, how do I get from point A to point Z? Let's say so. Then I will give you, of course, some tips for structuring and optimizing your own workflows. And like one of the most interesting parts here, that is more advanced part, how we perform error corrections. So if something went wrong, how do we correct it in Empower in a GMP compliant way? And the same for manual integration, because manual integration is one of the most trickiest things in Empower. And it's like, yeah, not very good seen by auditors, for example, and but sometimes you cannot, sometimes give situations you cannot avoid it, and how to do it correctly in a GMP compliant way. So this training is really focused on workflow in GMP labs. So if you're new user in Empower and you want to get this good fundamental for your work, that will be really, really useful for you. Also for routine users who are already working many years but don't have real structure in mind. So you see here really step by step, you get the structure, what every parameter in Empower means and how I perform steps in my analysis. And then you don't get fear if something goes wrong. So where was this button where I should click and what each button influences, if it's really critical if I click here or not. And as I said, it's like GMP laboratories training. You can register here. You'll get a presentation from me. You register is a QR code or here. It will take place again 18th February, the same time as this webinar. It's a paid training, not a free webinar. So there are two types of tickets. Early bird available till the end of this month. So there are a couple of days left, and regular ticket. So after this date, so from 1st of February, you can buy the regular one. And another training, the bigger one, I'm planning with my colleague Sami El Deep. He is a professor in a German university. He teaches pharmaceutical instrumental analysis, and apart from, so he teaches HPLC, so chromatography. And we decided that is our first training together. We want to make like a really intensive course for analysts who work with chromatography. So Sami will tell theory of HPLC, how the system work, how you create methods, and I'm responsible for the Empower part, how you perform analysis in Empower. So it's also perfect for ones who just starting the work in the lab. But also for students. So we suppose it's like good for graduates who are searching for opportunities in the pharma industry. So if you have someone who is interested, feel free to recommend it further. And this training will take on 3 days. There will be 2 sessions each day. So in total, there are 12 hours, 4 hours per day, 2 sessions. So 1 session from me and 1 session from Sami. Feel free to recommend it further. And regarding also free webinars and further trainings I'm planning for this year. So I'm going to create some trainings for custom fields, for export methods this year. So if you don't want to miss it, I always post information on LinkedIn and I post information on my website. And you can subscribe to the newsletter so you receive the information too. So keep following. I don't have any certain dates for the next trainings and webinars planned apart from this tool, but I'm going to update this information. Yes. What else? So here's a slide of my services, but I suppose you all know already what I'm doing. So I'm doing trainings and workshops in Empower, also consulting, and I have these topics in my service list, but all my trainings are individualized. So if you want to have a training for your team, feel free to contact me and we discuss what is relevant for you and pick up the topics that really important for your team. So, and if you want to discuss any functions, any challenges for me, I propose a free 30 minutes consulting session. So here's a QR code. So we can talk about your challenges and see what the next steps, or where I can support you on your Empower journey. So Q&A. So we have like 25 minutes left. So we can have a Q&A session now, or you can leave if you want. We are ready with the main part. So think about if there are some questions, write them in the chat. If you have something else to do, so feel free to leave. I wish you a wonderful evening and a wonderful start to the year. And I hope to see you at my next trainings and webinars. Uh, Stephen, we can go to your question now. Regarding the review, I understand your topic, so I will read for everyone who want to stay here the question of Stephen. I'm seeing a trend within electronic systems towards only spending time reviewing when there are problem exceptions, reasons to review. So minimum review when nothing highlighted. Have you seen that? And if so, any thoughts on how it might be implemented in Empower? So in the last versions of Empower, there is already a possibility to mark results that we've seen. So apart from sign-offs, you can also sign your audit trails. I haven't seen personally these functions, but there is something already from the Empower side that you should extra mark what you've already seen. But what I would recommend, just on the basic sense, to define for data reviewers certain view filters that they need to use to review their data. So it's not like they chaotically go from one data to another and they don't know. So I would say, in other words, the biggest problem is data reviewers don't really know what they have to look for. Yes, so they're like just going through, they don't have like a social algorithm, like what do I do, where I click, so what do I have to check? And I would recommend to really work with SOPs and try there on not that it doesn't have to be real SOP, it just need to be an instruction where you said, okay, you check this, you use this view filter to check it. Yes, and of course, apart from that, you can also do it a bit more automatically in Empower. So you minimize human error by setting limits. Yeah, there is this limit step in the processing method where you can set it. And if something is out of limits, it will be like showed up in your report. Yeah, or you can work with custom fields that checking this data for you. So if this parameter is inside of my criteria, and then you get an answer yes or warning, yeah, warning signal. That's it. But of course, like we need to check. So maybe one more comment regarding review. Many people review data more in report. So the recommendation that you review not your report, but you review really your result set. You zoom in chromatogram, you check integration there. Reviewing as a report is not enough. It's more like working with your data in the project window. You check results that's been created, how many results I have per channel, yeah, how many results sets I have. I check my audit trail. Yeah, there are also several audit trails. You have method audit trail, you have results audit trail. So I check it. I check my methods, why there were changes made. And it's also about setting critical points. So what is really critical in my analysis? For example, if my instrument method is locked, I don't need to check every time the parameters of instrument method. And it's also an optimization so that I do maximum to protect my analysis from wrong actions. And so I don't let routine analysts to change instrument methods. I can also define privileges that in the processing method, I can only check, change this and these parameters, not all of them, and so on. Also for report methods, it's not like everyone has to be able to adjust something there, yeah, because you can hide things and better not to do it. And it's good when data reviewers know what to check and where to find this information. But Stefan, if you want to talk more about it, feel free to come to the consultant session and we think about this topic. I think it's an interesting one. Thank you for your question. So I see one more question from Gianluigi. Could you explain the codes for results, example, after manual integration of a chromatogram already processed? Codes. So we have an Empower Help, a big list of codes. And there you can go through and find your code. How to come to this list? You can click Help in Empower and then just type a code. I don't know, any code you see, type I10. Yes, then you type this code and you come to the list of codes in Empower. And then you can read what this code means. It's a good exercise when you see any peak codes or result codes. You can see, you can go in Empower Help and see what this code means. Oh, yeah, maybe good point, maybe idea for the next webinars. Yeah, some critical code. I had a slide showing critical codes because there are so many of them and some of them like doesn't really make a sense. So not like not making sense, but they're not critical. And there are no point to worry about, but some of them really critical. Like for example, someone deleted peak. Yeah, it's like manual integration, but it's difficult to see. You can think, okay, manual integration, I just shifted my integration things. But if someone deleted peak, you can also only find it out if you see this code, someone deleted peak. Yeah. Thank you for your question. So you're welcome, all of you. Thank you for your nice feedback. So I wait a couple minutes and I will close the webinar if no questions come. So wish you all a wonderful evening and hope to see you in further webinars and trainings. So bye bye to everyone. Have a great evening.